Hi guys, I'm Phil Town from Rule Number One Investing, and today I want to talk to you about some of my past successes as a Rule One investor. As a reminder, make sure you click the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notifications when I release my new videos. It's definitely a passion of mine to try to find and buy amazing companies at great prices, and I've had a lot of success doing this in the past, and I'd love to talk about some of those things. I haven't really done a lot of talking about past success because my personal success at getting good investments and making money isn't going to help you do it on your own, except as just a kind of a pointer in that direction. And the reason I haven't pointed with my stuff is that, frankly, we've got Warren Buffett out there pointing the way, and he's got public portfolios that you can follow and you can prove it, whereas I don't want to go through all that trouble. But I will tell you this stuff anecdotally, just that there have been a lot of successes in a lot of companies that have doubled, tripled, more than that in value, and every day I'm looking for new winners. Also had some losers, okay? And anybody that invests and tells you they've never had a loser is crazy. Warren Buffett has losers, Charlie Munger has losers, we all do. But as I've learned over the years to follow more and more that path that was set down by Buffett and Munger, the better I get. So what I would like to talk to you guys today about is one of the winners, which is Whole Foods. Let's talk about why I bought it, why I thought it was a great company when I bought it, what I paid for it. And actually, I've gone through this thing twice. Often you find when you have big changes in the market, you're selling companies near the top of the market and buying them back later, which is great. You know, why have to do all the research all over again if you've already done it? So the first question I need to ask when I'm looking at a company is, am I capable of understanding this company? So Whole Foods is pretty straightforward, right? I went into one and was astonished at how cool it was when I went in there. This is years and years ago. And I'm looking around through this place and I'm thinking, man, what a cool company. So when I'm starting to look at that business in the first place, I kind of like to talk to the employees to try to get a grip on where they think about their own company. Often you'll talk to people who work there and they don't like the company. You can tell it, right? Or they'll even tell you. Whole Foods with the exact opposite. Whole Foods is a trip. When you start going around the different Whole Foods around the country, you see the flavor of people who work there and they all share a common passion. And that passion is what brought Whole Foods into existence in the first place, which is the desire to make the world a better place. So everybody who's there is into this fundamental passion that food can create better, healthier people, and better, healthier people will make the world a more wonderful place to be in. So Whole Foods, the people started sharing with me their stories about why they worked there, about their view of their section of the food store. And I started to realize how different this was than any other stores I'd ever shopped in my whole life. So I began to think, wow, okay, I'm probably capable of understanding this business. This is not rocket science, right? I've owned other businesses in the retail space. I've owned other businesses that do food kinds of things. So I think I can get a grip on this. So next, I wanted to look at the company and see, how does this company compare to the other companies that it competes with? So I wanted to learn more about the industry. The industry that these guys are in is the natural food grocer industry, which frankly, they almost invented, right? Now, there were other competitors out there for sure, but their major competition wasn't even competing with them at that time. And that was other grocery stores, the Ralphs, the Albertsons, the Publix. Those companies didn't even have Whole Foods on the map. They weren't even worried. Nobody was coming into their place and saying, I need, I can't live without organic zucchinis. So when I started looking at this, it was really Whole Foods against other niche companies, none of whom were as good as Whole Foods. So that made me feel very confident that, number one, I could understand this business. Number two, that they had a competitive advantage in their niche. All right. Next, I wanted to understand, how durable is this advantage? First off, what's the advantage? And second, how durable is it? So advantages only come in a handful of flavors, right? The number one advantage that a company like this typically has is brand. They are getting the word out there that this is the place to go shop. And by the time I got involved, they had a lot of Whole Food stores around the country and they'd gone public, obviously, or I couldn't have been investing. But the key is that they had a brand moat. If I think in terms of going to the store to get food, in a lot of people in that niche's mind, They didn't think about going to a grocery store. They thought about going to Whole Foods. That's like, a brand moat is like, you think in terms of that company. So Whole Foods had this brand moat. Now, I also was hoping they had some other kind of moat, because there's only a few more, but another moat would really help them. So the first place I look is, are they putting things out at a really great price? Are they underpricing the other grocery stores? No, they were overpricing the other grocery stores. So there was certainly not going to be people there shopping Whole Foods, thinking Whole Foods, because they're going to go get a cheaper price. All right, so that one was out. Are they the only game in town where you can go and get food? No, right? How about organic, natural food? Well, still not really. There's other niche companies. Okay, so they don't have a toll bridge moat. Is it really hard for me to switch from Whole Foods to Trader Joe's? No, I can just go down the street. So they don't have a switch moat. So all that was left was a secrets moat. And I looked carefully to see if these guys had some secret that allowed them to lay out this marvelous, bountiful, beautiful, attractive vegetable and fruit department, which is unlike anything I'd ever seen. And the answer is, yeah, I read in their 10K, their annual report, that they have a secret about how they manage all of that natural food that can easily go bad on them in just a few days. And that allows them to put more of it out there. They also were kind of first movers in the brand world in going to local sourcing for food, natural whole food, or natural organic food. And that first mover status gave them a real brand lift. So between the brand and some secret stuff that was going on there, I thought, yes, these guys have a durable competitive advantage. Okay, next, I looked at the management team, particularly the CEO. In fact, only the CEO in this case. His name is John Mackey, and I started digging in. Now, how did I dig in? Well, obviously, I'm going to go to the stores and talk to people about the CEO. How do you like him, right? Today, you can go to a company called, I think it's called Glassdoor, and you will see what people are saying about the CEOs in their company. That's kind of the same thing I was doing, was walking around, all right? But more than that, I dug into Google and said, please tell me everything about John Mackey. And I got an article in Wired 2.0, I still remember it. It was such an eye-opener about who John Mackey was when he started Whole Foods, and then who he became on this journey to build this huge company. And I loved it. I loved his values. I mean, John went from being a rather radical socialist who had very high ideals about the quality of food and the kind of way things should be shared in the world. And as he built this company, he started to discover that those ways of sharing things in the world promoted by socialist doctrine didn't work out. That, in fact, he was working his tail off and being criticized by people who weren't working very hard for charging so much money for the food when he and his wife were making $200 a month and living in an attic apartment right above their store. So John started evolving his views into kind of what he calls now conscious capitalist, and from a sort of political point of view, like a libertarian. I loved all that. I just wanted to read it and read about his journey because I was so fascinated. So I connected with this guy's values and really enjoyed understanding him better, and enjoyed the fact that John was basically working for nothing. He had a huge stock position in the company, of course, but he was out there busting his tail every day, building this company, making it better for me if I wanted to own it. And all he gets is his stock, which he'd get anyway. So it was all about the passion. So here I had business I could understand pretty well, a competitive advantage, brand and secrets that I thought was going to be very powerful, and then finally a management team, well, at least a CEO that I really loved. I loved his structure in the company for pay was that the highest paid person in the company couldn't make more than 14 times the average person's pay, which means not today's 400 times or 500 times, which is what some of these CEOs are making. So on all these levels, I just really liked John Mackey and thought that he would be the guy I could trust. And that has, in fact, turned out to be true. So finally, we're down to the last thing in this particular part of understanding the business, which is let's talk about the value of the business. What's the value here? So I did a valuation of the business. At that point in time, it was growing almost 20% a year, 18 to 20%. I could give it a 36 PE. I could run my margin of safety valuation. It also had huge free cash flow throughput. So I could do a nice 10 cap. I could do a nice payback time, and I could buy in. I think I was buying in around $40 a share. It went all the way up into the 90s. I sold when it started coming down. It went up double, more than double. So I started looking to get out up above 80, 85, $90 a share. Exited right about there. And then bought back in later. And when the price came all the way down into the 30s, bought back in and was expecting to see it go all the way back up to 60 or 70 because the growth rate had slowed down a lot. So now it was getting a PE of maybe 16 or 18, so much lower valuation actually. And son of a gun, Amazon comes along and buys the whole company for 42. So done very well with Whole Foods in multiple investments. And at the end of the day, it's all about just going through the process, Now, what put it on sale? Well, the first thing that put it on sale is, just a giant meltdown in the stock market. That really put it on sale. You could have bought Whole Foods for $5 a share back in that day. And I think I bought it then at about $7 actually. To go for the second ride. The third ride was the one from 30 to 42. So multiple rides through this company as a result of multiple events. One was just a gigantic financial event. One was a John Mackey going into a quarterly earnings report and saying, we're not going to grow at that rate anymore. That'll do it. And then the third one was John Mackey going back in and saying, screw you to the analysts. Basically, he's sick and tired of them picking apart his company, and if they didn't like it, they could shove it, and the stock dropped like a brick from that as well. So basically, you can have lots of different kinds of impacts, from macro economic meltdown to the CEO coming forward and saying, hey, we're just not going to be able to grow at that rate anymore. The world's changing. We got more competition, to the CEO getting in a fight with analysts. And in all three of those cases, I had an opportunity to buy the stock. And now, how long did it take to go from, here I'm buying in at, I think 7 and selling out at, oh man, that thing went to like 40s when we got out. That happened in 3 years on the second one. The first one went from, I think 40 to 90 in about 3 to 4 years. And the third one went from 30 to 42 in about a year. So each one was different. Each one had a different kind of compounded rate of return. Overall, probably averaged mid 20s or so on those investments, maybe higher over time. So that's the story of Whole Foods. Now, what I'd like to know from you guys is, have you got a story like that? Have you got something that you bought on sale and you sold it and then you got to buy it back and sold it again? Those are kind of cool, I really like to hear from you guys. And how do you analyze companies that you want to invest in? Shoot us a comment below, you guys, and we'll be sure to follow up with you. We'll get a little conversation going, and I want to thank you for watching. Now go play. You guys, if you enjoyed this video and you feel it was valuable in teaching you more about the stock market successes we've had, hit the like button and please share the video with your friends. And if you want more investing content, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to click the button on the screen for a free gift. And thanks again for watching.